How you doing?
How are you?
Good, good. I had to entertain the folks for 5 minutes, and I'm not a comedian, so it was pretty
I'm
good.
sure you've done a great job as usual.
So let's we got a lot to talk about, but let me first get your comments on what's going on in the media world right now, just because of this barbecue joint that I can't get away from on all the media outlets. Is this a good or bad look for the industry?
Well, I mean, it shows exactly what's going on in people's mind. There is no restaurateur out there this has not crossed their mind. It's a wrong thing, definitely. It's the wrong way to express ourselves, definitely. We always need to follow the rules. We always need to show that we are a law-obedient industry, but it's frustrating. And the reason why it's frustrating, because governments, when they put out restrictions, number one, like everything you do in life, even with your family, if you want people to buy in and to participate to the extreme that people are losing almost their livelihood with your decisions as a government, number one, you have to be very transparent. And you need to tell them the process of making these decisions. You can't just have or expect people to agree with you blindly without showing what the science said, without showing how and why you took those decisions. And at the same time, what happened basically, that we have asked them to bring a task force from the restaurant industries that we're heard, and that their restrictions are matching to some data and science that show us why we should support these restrictions. And what we saw yesterday from the Auditor General, it gives us even more reasons to doubt that every time they were standing there in front of us, right on TV saying, I'm sorry that we're shutting you down, but that's what the doctors strictly saying, that's what the science is saying, it was wrong. It was dealt with it with the lead of political member of the government, not with the doctors. The doctors were on an advisory board mostly, not in an advisory role, not in decision-making role based on science and data. So we deserve transparency and honesty from the government, because this is something that actually is going to change people's life and a lot of small businesses right in the heart of Mississauga. And Porte Credit, the BIA of Porte Credit, has been loud and has done a great job. MBOT has been loud. All of us in the industry, I'm part of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce task force to advocate for the industry. And we all been asking for data and science. And that's what happens. People will start not believing in the rules, not buying into the rules. And that's why people will not stand behind it. Like, explain to me, and I have asked every single mayor, I have spoken personally to mayors, to the premier, and to a lot of people about why would big box store open and a small retailer in Porte Credit, a small business in anywhere in Mississauga, is not allowed to allow people to come in one by one by appointment. How is that more risky than having more people walking around a big box retailer?
True. You've been a huge advocate for the restaurant industry over the last month or so. What kind of financial support does the industry need specifically?
Well, thank you for asking me this question, because we hear the politicians on TV saying that they're pouring money right, left, and center on us. And I almost go and check with my team to check at the bank account. Maybe there's any money hidden somewhere that we haven't seen. So the federal government, I have to say, they have done good job. Slow, not enough, but they have done much better job than other level of governments. So let's talk federally in the beginning. So federally, there is the rent subsidy and there is the wage subsidy. Wave one was higher than wave two. So when you're hearing now 90%, it's not 90%. You only get 90% if you're shut down completely or you're doing takeout alone, but only day by day subsidy for the day that there is a lockdown. Otherwise, you're getting 65%, which is much lower than the previous subsidy. So you're actually taking more restrictions, putting us more at risk. After 8 months of business owners not making a profit, and I'm going to explain that, and you're giving us less money. So people are seeing their bank account going less and less and less by the day. And let me clarify this point. The people who has lasted up to this moment, this day, this minute, when me and you, Khaled, are speaking, these are businesses that they're worth saving. A lot of people say the restaurant industry is a high risk, and a lot of them are going to die anyway because they were not doing good, finding million excuses why we're killing people's businesses. It's not true. These businesses has lasted 8 months. That's a lot to last for a restaurant business. They have paid it from their pocket, even 30% or 40% of 100% of their bills when their sale did not match that. So they're worth saving. That's number one. Number two, every small business as well, not only restaurant, I mentor over 32 companies, owners. So I mentor them. I've been with them from the start. I try to encourage them, keep them positive, which is we all should always stay positive and stay strong. But yet, at the same time, these people have forgotten their profit long time ago. So any business owner today is not taking money home. Let's be clear. They're ready to work for free to save their businesses and save their biggest asset is their staff, right? So that's very important, and I'm gonna get to staff with the wage subsidy. So we need much more than a small percentage of wage subsidy and a small percentage of rent subsidy for this industry to remain. And people are not understanding that. So please, to everyone that you hear that the restaurant industry is getting 90% of their rent, that's only day by day for lockdown. And then after, it'll be pulled back to 65% only if you lost 75% of your sales. But then if you lost, let's assume I lost 50% of my sale. What do I get? 40% of my rent. So every owner of a restaurant today is being asked to put out of pocket, forget about the profit, because we agreed, all of us, that the profit is gone long time ago from the beginning of the pandemic, right? So they've been asked to pay 40% from their pocket for rent. They're asked to pay to cover all their old bills from before the pandemic that they've been piling up. And they've been asked, now we go to wage subsidy, to pay another 40% or 35% of their wages, comparing to much less than 50% of their sales. So it's complicated, but to make it straight up, they're not getting the 90%. They're not getting enough money. They're putting it from their pocket to save the business, to bring back those staff that they had to lay off, and to maintain the staff that the actual government is telling them, listen to this, in Mississauga, in Toronto today, no one can live with $565 or $570 per week. The rent alone will amount for more than that. So if you tell your staff, your team, I'm gonna lay you off, you're basically taking away food from their family table. You're taking a glass of milk from a child's table. So you don't do that, you carry it. So what I'm saying, the government on a federal level, I'm gonna get to provincial immediately because the federals were much, much better. They've done a great job comparing to what we saw from the provincial government, but still they're very slow, it's not timely, is not matching to the restriction, is more restriction, less money at the same time. And to everyone out there, you guys think, that's okay, in 2 months you'll get your money. Restaurants are holding on with their fingernails now. Small businesses are holding on with fingernails. So
Mohamad, what has to be done from the federal level to the restaurant industry? What has to be given for the restaurant industry to survive?
Well, what should happen, and I've been asking for, before we get to provincial, because I'm very excited about that conversation too, what should happen is sector-specific subsidy. Okay. So enough with one size fit all, enough putting family restaurants along with bar, pubs, and everything. So it should be more customized, sector-specific subsidy. We will expect a big outcry if we see the government doing sector-specific subsidy to Air Canada or airline industry. But to the restaurant industry, this is what small businesses, retailers, like the people that the businesses owned by families, and these are businesses will decide in a year and so how our main street will look like, how our port of credit will look like, how our streets will look like. We can't have them shut down one after the other. We can't kill the sense of entrepreneurship in our children to say, never become an entrepreneur ever. Look how risky this life is. So we need a sector-specific subsidy. And I'm glad to see some of the media reported that there might be announced something on Monday about that. I've been advocating for this industry since the beginning of this pandemic. This is the industry that made me who I am in a lot of ways, and I'll continue to do that. But we need the federal government to come to the table with sector-specific subsidy. Otherwise, you will see one after the other. Tens of thousands of restaurants has shut down in every single neighborhood. People, if they didn't shut down, what's happening is the level and the amount of debts that they're carrying is getting higher and higher and higher. That's all. And we need to understand that. Going back to the provincial government and the relation between the governments, like every time we talk to, and I call ministers, we call a lot of people with the help of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. Restaurant Canada has done a great job. They're calling, they're sending letters to the government level, all level. The federal says, we've done this, that's true. The provincial government need to come to the table as well. Like the provincial government has done less than any other provincial government of bigger provinces in Canada, much less than Quebec, much less than BC. Like that $300 million that, okay, I'll double it and I'll make it 600 million, Premier Ford said. And then he included small businesses with it. So basically the 300 was giving much more money per restaurant. Now with the 600 million and adding another industry to it, is giving much less money for every single one. And it's a one-time thing. So comparing to billions Quebec has helped the restaurant industry with, and billions that BC put on the table, our provincial government, one, they mismanaged the whole thing. Number two, the first 28 days restriction on restaurants were proven right in Peel. In Mississauga, only 3% of cases were from hospitality. And that's including bars, clubs, restaurants. So if you were to divide it, these family-owned restaurants, these small restaurateurs, they're not even accounting for 1% of the pandemic, yet they were shut down the first 28 days for nothing. And it did not help the cases from rising, is the opposite. We're the only industry, and that's a very important point for everyone to understand. If you look worldwide, the solution to this virus is limited to three things: vaccine, rapid testing, and traceability. We're the only industry in Canada that does rapid testing, that does traceability. So if someone gets a corona at anywhere, and at a big box retailer, and come to Paramount, and they scan the barcode and they register, now we're wearing that case. Because when you go to Walmart, you don't get your phone numbers and your name. When you go to a supermarket, they don't make you a barcode and put your phone number in it. But we do.
Mohamad, you mentioned that the funding has to be sector specific from the feds. Do you have something in mind that you see that would work?
Well, absolutely. Well, they did a $40,000 per business, and they said that they will forgive part of it. The first thing, take the anxiety of businesses and waive that one for sure. To start, waive it, because it's on our
altogether.
Oh, of course.
Yep.
Well,
okay.
The problem here, Khaled, that these governments, they talk to each other, but when they design something, they don't talk to each other. So if you going to keep asking me to go prepare my patios because I'm going to be open in winter. And we go spend 20,000, 30,000, 10,000 for our patios, our heaters, and then you shut down my patios, right? That's your fault. It's not mine. I wouldn't have prepared my patio. I would have had 20,000. You just wasted 20,000. When the province says, in 4 days, I'm going to open dine-in, and then on Friday, when we all ordered food, rehired the staff, scheduled staff, so we have to pay them. And on Friday, instead of opening, we shut down. On the last hour, it takes them 6 hours to shut us down and 6 months to give us the subsidy, right? Mm. Then they have to pay. When you make a mistake, you pay for it. And the provincial government is asking the federal to pay for it. Well, no, it was proven that you have the money from the feds to pay, so come into the table. And what you need to do, every time you shut us down and you cost us money, you create a 10,000 more grant because you costed me that 10,000, right? So it has to be, number one, waive the first 40, and I'm not done yet. The new 20 that they're sending to everyone that's going to be available from the first week of December, the application, double it to another 40 and waive half of it. That's an example, right? Push that tax repayment for 5 years forward. People can pay early. Take away things from our AP, account payable, so people are not living in anxiety. So, and the provincial government, it's a must to become transparent. If they don't want to see anger and people not listening to them, they need to share with the people of the industry. Like usually, even when you go to a restaurant and your team make a mistake, you don't tell the customer what you're going to do for them. You ask them, how can I make you happy? So the government need to ask this industry, how can I help you, like you just did, Khaled? And they've never done that. They keep creating these help that hit and miss. Like, do you know that there's companies today that they have 20 locations owned by entrepreneurs just because they incorporated 30 years ago? And they have hired mothers, they have hired immigrants, they have hired the newcomers, they have helped in and building our country and shaping our main street, are not allowed to get even $1 subsidy because they were incorporated wrong, put several restaurants under one corporation, and the government only help you under one corporation. So they basically helping mostly people that possibly eligible and leaving a lot and a big part of people that they're just missing out. The provincial government keep on and off surprising us with decisions without preparing us ahead of time. They're costing us money. They need to come to the table with money. They need to be transparent and honest, share why are you opening big box store, not small one. And let me ask you, Khaled, I'm hearing from Dr. Williams, the top doctor in Ontario, that we just realized that he actually wasn't making the decisions, unfortunately, when Premier Ford said he was. But he wasn't, and we used to shut up. We're not doctors. We have to listen. We have to know what we don't know. So we listened to the doctor that wasn't making the decision. But how can you do that when the malls, like I'm someone that I have a franchisee in Berlin, I have a franchisee in Hamilton, and those malls in those areas are packed. People from high count cases are traveling 10 minutes to Oakville Place and shop. So that those restrictions are taking away the opportunity from our small business owners and not helping the case rise or drop. They're not actually contributing to anything. The doctor from BC, Dr. Bonnie from BC said, restaurants are even safer than the gathering happening in the condos. So what we're doing, we're shifting the party here. We're saying to the people, you want to party and gather with your friend, don't come to Mississauga, don't come to Toronto, but please go to Oakville and go to Berlin.
Well, Mohamad, let me ask you this. Should restaurants be open at this point?
Well, I would say a restaurant could stay open at 10 people inside. It should be per square foot. Like how can, I went to La Castille, and they're a very good friend of mine. They're someone that I learned from this industry. They've been around in Mississauga for years. Like a 3-floor restaurant was allowed only 10 people sit down dining. Why? We actually have a traceability. We can force people to put masks. But look, we are prepared to shut down our door. But give us the right help. We're not going to become doctors. We're not going to act like we know the science. We don't know the data. They kept us in the dark. We are happy to lock down if they want us to, if we have enough help. Freeze the bills. Do something enough for us to sit home and not jump out of our houses to make a living and save our livelihood. So the restrictions and the amount of help should be equal, and it cannot be inadequate. It has to be inadequate, and it has to be fair, because there is one, if you lose your livelihood, and two, the sense of unfairness makes you want to come out and protest, make you want to come out and do things differently. And when you hear that it wasn't based on science and data, you're going to say, like, why am I listening? Why am I losing my livelihood? Why my staff are stressing? Entrepreneurs, day by day, each night, are stressing. They don't know when to let go, when to give up. And if we continue doing this to them, like, we are people that builds memory. This is where you guys celebrate birthdays and you surprise your loved ones, and where sometimes you meet your loved ones and you take them for dinner, and hopefully you surprise them and with good surprises. That's where who we are. So we can't live with anxiety. Like, I've seen argument between staff of restaurants and patrons, and yelling at each other because of how one behaving or the other is not happy with the policies. And like, this is not who we are. So shut us down, we're okay if that's what you think. And if you're ready, the solution will be share the data. Tell us how you're making those decisions, how you're getting to those conclusions. And then show us, like what Dr. Williams said, and this is very dangerous, and I'm sure, sorry to tell everyone the bad news. Yesterday he said, after the end of the first lockdown, 28 days now, he doesn't think that we're going to see enough drop in cases number to the extreme that he will lift the lockdown. So what does that mean to a restaurateur? The first 28 days they were guessing, they locked down the restaurant alone, then they admit that locking a restaurant down alone is not enough. So now all our revenue is gone by mistake because they guessed. A second 28 days now we're going through, and now they're preparing us psychologically a third 28 days.
So Mohamad, how catastrophic will it be for the restaurant industry if it does not open in 28 days?
Well, it's pretty catastrophic. We're expecting that 65% of businesses will not be able to hold on unless the government come in with a subsidy specific to this sector, will help them stay in business. Like, there is high-end hotels in downtown Toronto and by the airport are being rented by government to put the homeless in them, and the owners are agreeing to everything. And I agree, everyone deserves a roof in Canada, but they're looking for any income, and we are looking for any income. We've been asking for 9 months, Khaled, to impose a cap on delivery fees. This delivery company takes 30% from our sales, right? And we're only takeout, so we have to count on them. And finally today we heard, after 8 months, the first time I asked for it was April. Today I tweeted my tweet from May 5. I'm saying to the premier, this is the second time I'm asking you. Will hit the bottom line. So we need all the level of government to come in together. We need them to actually get some restaurateur on the table, clearly. Look, let's be honest with each other. The first wave, they didn't know what they're doing. And fairly so, it was never around this corona. We don't know how to deal with it. But the second wave, you had 8 months to learn it. You knew what you need to do. And I don't want to argue that what happened in the second wave is a result of how they acted the 7 months before it, right? But you know how and what you need to do to come together, 3 levels of government, and put a plan together that works. And if the plan is to shut down, we're 100% putting the health of our community first. We're 100% want to be law-obeying people, but give us enough subsidy and don't make us feel that we're treated unfairly. Because you're not treating me unfairly for something small. You're making those businesses lose their livelihood.
Mohammed, I know pre-pandemic, I've seen a lot of stories that, obviously you are friends with Trudeau. I've seen you, in stories, you've hugged him, everything pre-pandemic, obviously, right? But have you talked to the Liberal government and the feds about this personally?
I have to say, I have spoken to them a lot. They've been
Okay.
listening a lot to a lot of restaurateurs. They've been calling, but still, definitely their job is not easy. But there is the way our country works. There should be a coordination between when the feds, let's assume, let me give you a small example. If the federal government says your rent subsidy is 65%, and to the people listening to me, I apologize, I have to go a little bit deep in numbers. The first subsidy was 75%, 25 from the landlord, and 50 from the government. The 50 from the government was a share between 37.5 federal, 12.5 provincial. Well, the new subsidy has only 50% from the federal. So they need to talk to each other and bring them back to the table, bring the province back to the table. And if you're telling me my subsidy is going to be delayed because you're doing better, which is, yeah, the new subsidy is better than the old one because it made eligible much many businesses. But per business that they were eligible before and eligible now is less. So more people getting the subsidy, but less money for everyone. That's number one. Two, it didn't go retroactively back to the people that were not eligible to boost their cash flow and give them the money they were not eligible for, right? So yes, we are talking, the Canadian Chamber is talking, the Restaurant Canada is talking, I personally talking to ministers, their staff, and a lot of the people that work with them. Spoken once with the Minister of Finance in Ontario myself. Restaurant Canada is talking always to the province. Yet the help from the province is much shorter coming to us comparing to Quebec and to BC. And the Liberal government need to do more customized, specific for the sector of the restaurant and hospitality and for small businesses, right? A specific subsidy for us to survive. Otherwise, what's the point of giving Air Canada help and have people flying in? They have no places to shop. We're all closed.
Did you get a phone call?
Sorry about that.
That's all good.
No, yes. So there is no reason to give a subsidy to Air Canada, and when people come in here, they have no place to eat and no place to shop because we're all shut down and our streets look like empty place. And bottom line, we don't only impact us. Let's talk about the most important point: staff, right? Like a restaurant is the first job for a lot of people. We need to have this restaurant open. We have a lot of staff. We employ more than 1.3 million of Canadian, and we employ the most vulnerable. We need to talk about people. I asked the Prime Minister's team, I asked all the ministers to always put people first. We need to put people first in our restriction and our subsidy. We can't say to people, it's okay, I'm removing a glass of milk from in front of your son or daughter. It doesn't work that way. People will come out to the street and without a mask. And I'm not telling people to do that. I'm telling people we need to follow the rules and the doctor recommendation. But we need all levels of government to come to the table and give us enough subsidy. And we need them to advocate for us. We need the mayor to advocate for us. She's doing a great job, but we need to call out the premier when he's not doing it. We need to call out anyone who's not doing it, either federal or provincial. This is not about which party you like. It's about our livelihood.
Mohammed, let's end with a positive note because I know you had a turkey drive that was hugely successful. So talk about that.
Well, I mean, I learned and I've been wired that way. You know, I always say charity is like an umbrella. You know, it protects you from the bad times, from rain, from snow, from everything. And every year I have this turkey drive that we start. And I thought this year we'll start it earlier to make sure that we get to more turkeys, to more families in our community. And one of our partners is the Mississauga Food Bank for sure, and other food banks. So we start and we raised almost $47,000 by the last 3 minutes in 5 days. So we're going to put in front of 2,500 families from our community, from all Canadians, 2,500 holiday dinners. People these days, you know what lockdown means? Less people are able to earn and more people need our help. And for all of you, I need to tell you this very short story. I lived in a civil war, and we used to live and sleep in bunkers for days. And when me and my dad used to be walking out of the bunker, he used to look at me and smile. And I used to say, why are you smiling? That was dark. That was horrible sleeping on the floor. He used to say, I can't wait that I come out, hire more people, build a new business. And to everyone out there that doesn't believe the light will come, I'm telling you the light will come. A great day will come and we will all agree it together. So for everyone listening, if you are able to share that turkey drive, and if you can donate, definitely donate. It's a $20 to feed a family in our community that is mostly in need. But most importantly, stay positive. We will come out hopefully on the other side, but we keep and we will continue advocating. And I'm asking everyone, every MP, every MPP, the mayor, the city councillor, to continue advocating all level of government to save small businesses, to save restaurateurs, and to help the staff, the employees, the workers, that they are in Mississauga, in Toronto, in Canada, anywhere. Use your voice, use your platform to help them come out on the other side. Otherwise, to everyone, thank you very much for your Khaled. Thank you for the time, but we're going to continue advocating for this industry.
Mohamad Fakih, the founder of Paramount Fine Foods. Thank you so much. Keep on inspiring. And wow, that was like 40 minutes. I didn't even know. It just felt like 5. So.
Sorry, I took away from you the first 5 minutes, but I took back another 10.
No, it's fine. All right, Mohamad. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Please be safe, Khaled. Thank you. Thank you for all what you do.
Keep on inspiring.